Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and unfortunately, I did say last week that we were hoping to have a special guest on this podcast today. My boyfriend's roommate slash best friend is the biggest Stargate nerd I've ever met in my entire life, and he will join us at some point in the next 5 years of doing this podcast.
There's another season.
There's more seasons, but he is playing D&D tonight. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
It's fine. He kicked my ass in Scrabble on Saturdays, so.
And you're an English teacher.
Yeah, so is he, technically.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
like, he's also.
Fair.
The worst part is that actually that Dan beat both Doug and I.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, it was not a great time. But how are you?
I'm hot. We are in yet again another heat wave.
Oh, it's so bad.
Melting, not happy about life. It's fine. So I got up to go. This is what I was gonna tell you before I got on the podcast. I was like, no, the whole world needs to hear this.
Perfect.
So I got up to go to work, and I was only gonna be like 20 minutes late instead of like an hour or so.
Good.
And so I was very myself. I was like, I'm drenched. It's hot. I'm making it to the train station. Get to the train station. The train takes half an hour to get there.
Oh, cute.
Should take 6 minutes. When I got there, it said it would take 9 minutes. But alas, it took half an hour. So I was already annoyed. Train gets there, it's packed because,
Because
one
it's
every
late.
half hour in rush time. And there's no AC on my train.
No.
I thought I was going to pass out from a heat stroke before I got to work.
No, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I almost just left and took a cab. When I realized it, I was like, I'm already here. I've already waited 30 minutes. It's just another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I felt so gross when I got to work.
Yeah, no, that's awful. I do not approve of this message in any way, shape, or form.
No. So my brain is gone, as you've noticed, but I'm also drinking wine out of a mug a la you. And it's nice. I'm drinking.
Mine is my Shays Buffalo Broadway mug. So I matched you.
Moulin Rouge. You did. Twinsies. Yes, I'm drinking a wine that's actually I've had for probably 2 years, and I was just like, I don't really like a Côte d'Aron. I'm not a big fan of Grenache or Syrah. And then I opened it and I was like, this is delicious. So here we go. And we're going to talk for the next 7 hours. So
unless one of us dies before then, because with this heat, that is actually a distinct possibility.
But if we die, at least somebody will know.
Nope. And not if it's me, because now this will never get edited.
I don't know if you died.
Oh,
I'm here for you.
Thank you so much.
Right,
the world,
of course.
The world won't know because
Right.
I won't edit the podcast.
The world wouldn't know until I told them, but I would know, so I could send help.
Oh, perfect.
Right.
Fantastic. I love that.
How are you?
I am, other than the fact that I've never been so hot in my entire life, I'm great, except for today was weird, but my mom literally yelled at me yesterday and was like, I guess you're finally acclimated because this is not Thailand hot. I was like, my apartment in Thailand, I could set the air condition to 60 degrees.
Dream.
I would sleep with it at 18 degrees Celsius, which is literally 62 degrees.
Yeah.
I cannot do that here.
No. Yeah. My aunt's like, I don't know how you haven't got the fixture. I was like, I don't think it's broken. It just is what it is. It's glowing.
Yeah.
It's just old and you can't feel it.
No, it's
my little tiny AC though.
So I'm wonderful except for the heat.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm so wonderful because today something got announced that I cannot even stand.
Do I know?
No, you don't. This is the thing that I said I wasn't going to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone's going to judge me. It's fine. As all of you know, I am a huge K-pop stan. particularly Blackpink. I am a Blink so hard. I stand Blackpink.
You're a what?
A Blink.
Blink? Like,
Yeah, that's what their fans are called.
okay.
Just like BTS's army.
Yeah, but I guess they just like smush their name in.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going on a world tour. And it's a world tour and it only has like 18 dates. So like very, very few places.
It's a limited world tour.
Very limited world tour. But they're playing 2 nights in Hamilton, Ontario, which is a very small town outside of Toronto that is only an hour away from my house.
That's amazing.
I freaked out. I immediately was like, tickets. The tickets aren't on sale yet. But in November, because they announced it today, but in November, I will be going to see Blackpink.
That's so exciting for you.
And this Saturday, I'm going to see Machine Gun Kelly and Avril Lavigne.
I keep forgetting, and I get mad every time you tell me because I'm not seeing Avril Lavigne, and I'm not thrilled. There's nothing I want more in my life.
Yeah, so I'm also talked to Monica yesterday about going to see I Prevail and Pierce the Veil with her in November.
Ooh.
So I
have not listened to I Prevail, but I do like Pierce the Veil. So
I love I Prevail. So and she was like, yeah, we're not gonna get like pit seats, like pit tickets for that. We're just gonna go up on the balcony. I go, I can't. I'm 30. I can't be in the pit at an I Prevail show.
Who do you think I am?
Balcony near the bar, count me in. 100%.
All I need.
Yeah.
Alcohol in a seat, I'm in. That is very low standards, but that is all I want.
Correct. So I've got some big concerts coming up. And I'm so excited.
But now I want to start planning a concert. Let me see what's I did see, so this is kind of funny. So we have on the subway they have like a big poster that has all the shows coming to Pier 17. And I can never see the bottom left because someone's head was always there. And so I saw the rest and I was like, oh, there's some that are good. I was like, oh, I could go to that person. Nothing's really sticking out. And this was like weeks of me seeing this poster. I was like, I don't know. I finally see the bottom left. It is Simple Plan. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the one I couldn't see. So I think it's at the end of the month. And I thought about trying to go catch that because when I tell you I love Simple Plan.
I love Simple Plan.
I literally would listen to, I had the Cheaper by the Dozen DVD and I would listen to I'm Just a Kid on repeat on the DVD because I didn't have the album yet.
Did I ever tell you about the time that I was sitting there with my 3rd graders in Thailand and like I had like my 4 boys that were in my last class that I was going to adopt and like kidnap and take out of Thailand with me. I walked up to their homework class one day and I opened the door and Nolan, this little boy, just looks at me and goes, and life is a nightmare, and starts singing at me. And I was like, yes,
I love it. Yes. I sent that one night on Snapchat. I was being dramatic. Did I send that too? I think I did. I just put I'm just a kid. Life is a nightmare sound on my Snapchat. It's like 1 a.m. at the bar, and I was just having a very dramatic night because everyone was being stupid, and I was mad.
Listen, it happens.
So sometimes I just hide in the closet and text really dramatic things to people.
I love that for you, though. Like, I really, truly do.
Thank you. I usually follow up with like, oh, by the way, I'm fine.
But by the way, I didn't mean it.
Because I may or may not be able to respond for an hour, so I don't want them to like think I've died.
Right. Stop. I just disconnected you.
What's happening right now?
My computer was going up on notifications off of my phone, but I disconnected my phone from my computer, so I don't know how it's still going off.
Oh. It's a ghost.
What had happened was my friend sent me a Snapchat video and my phone got it all like a long video and all 5 parts came up as one notification on my phone, but all 5 parts came up as separate notifications on my computer. That's what happened.
Yes, that tracks. Oh my gosh.
I'm sweating.
I'm
so sorry.
Sweat. I'm like, trying not to like touch my notes. keep putting sweat on my hands.
All right, my hair is going back up. I don't.
Weird.
I'm gonna look like a little pirate boy from Neverland, but like my hair has got to go back up. I can't do this.
Sorry. You do you.
Speaking of little pirate boys from Neverland, what is our spirituality for the day?
I do not think there's any connection there, but okay. That's fine.
I didn't know where to go with that.
So I went off the rails a bit today.
Oh, okay.
I did prepare our spiritual AF affirmation, but I decided since this was the season one wrap up, I was going to pick some life advice from season one.
Oh.
So today's affirmation is, what is right cannot be measured by strength. Do you know who said that?
Teal.
Yes.
Yes.
That's our affirmation today.
I love it.
That would be fun.
I love that.
So I was doing my notes for Stargate last night, and I just went off the rails. I probably did notes for like 2 hours. Like, I don't have 2 hours worth of notes.
But you did notes for 2
but
hours.
I did notes for like 2 hours because I just spiraled.
Well, before we get started into, because I know a lot of your notes had to do with trying to organize things and questions that you had, because we talked.
Absolutely none.
Oh, really? I thought you told me you were going to find questions for me.
I have one question for you. I did tell you I was going to find questions for you, and then I couldn't for the life. I was like, I don't know any questions that I haven't already asked.
Fair.
Because I do ask a lot of questions. So
You do. But so we are talking about the first season of Stargate, the whole season. And I did look up some information about the ratings and reviews of the show. And I learned, Doug taught me how Rotten Tomatoes works.
I also looked at Rotten Tomatoes.
But Doug taught me how the Rotten Tomatoes score is literally like basically either 100 or 0, like for the critic scores. So what happens is, like, critics can give it like a number also, but a critic score on Rotten Tomato, because Doug actually works for a newspaper, so he writes reviews for things, and so he taught me these. So even though he's not here today, he's still guesting on our podcast because he taught me things on Saturday. He's here in spirit. So when a reviewer reviews something on Rotten Tomatoes, they either give it a fresh or a rotten. So it basically counts as 100 or 0. And so then the review is literally like the percentage is literally just the average of yes and no. Like, it's not like a number scale.
Got it.
So season 1 of Stargate had a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. It had 10 reviews. 6 of them were fresh. 4 of them were rotten. That's it. So that's how that works. The actual numbers on an average of 10, their average was 7 out of 10.
Got it.
The audience then gave it a 96%. So that was
they were
very different. Big fans. I could only find one negative review in the audience, like written reviews. The written review did say, I don't know if I'm the only person who's ever watched a sci-fi show because this is garbage, and it made me laugh so hard. But the Metacritic score was a 48.
Okay.
Which just means that most of the reviews were mixed,
Mm-hmm.
which is fair because season
totally.
1 was a pretty mixed bag. I did confirm that I am in fact correct, and Doug is not, that the Netflix order and the DVD order are not the same.
Look at you.
I know. I forgot to bring the DVDs over here with me.
Excellent.
Which would only be to show you how beautiful they are, because I have all the information on my phone already.
Did you have reviews you wanted to read to us?
No. Do you have any that you particularly stuck out? Okay, because I didn't. None of them really stuck out to me, other than I thought that they were all obnoxious.
I picked one critic review and one audience review.
Perfect. Please share them, because I'm sure that they were interesting.
They were lovely. So the critic review, it was a UK verified guy. I apologize. I wrote no information about it.
That's totally fine.
He said there was an appropriately makeshift feel about most of the script. Like a MacGyver device, it was a terrible mess, but in its clumsy, unconvincing way, it did the job.
I did in fact see that one.
I liked that one. I mean, I went on Rotten Tomatoes, so I assume you've seen all the ones I'm gonna say.
Yes.
But I liked that one. I was like, that sums it up. That's how I felt at the end. I was like, it was kind of chaotic. We were kind of all over the place, but we got there and people still wanted more. So we did it.
Yeah.
Like, and the audience review I have, I thought it was sweet. It said, "This is a show I fell in love with. The cast is all great. They became part of my family and I explored the galaxy with them."
I love that.
I know. It made me so happy.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, so those were the two reviews I wrote down because I thought the first one was like super accurate and a little funny, and the second one was just very kind.
That's so sweet. I like it a lot.
Yes. And I'm
Um,
sure I will have questions as we go forward
of
if you don't
course.
address things that I am anticipating you to address. So,
Of course. That's how this goes. So, one of our biggest complaints with season one was that there was a lot of things that felt irrelevant and useless. Not the show as a whole. We enjoyed the show, but like this season was definitely not packaged with a bow, I will say.
very true. I was talking to my aunt because I was telling her how we're doing, how we do our in between seasons for Bates. And I was like, yeah, we're doing a film, so it's different. And she was like, well, why don't I do that for Stargate? Because it's just small episodes. Nothing's in an order. I was like, no, it's in an order. You just don't know that yet. I
Yeah.
was like, it is important to follow along and to know the
Mhm.
backstory. You just don't know quite yet.
Yeah, no, correct. It is in fact not a like what is that? Serialized show. No, what is serialized is where you need to watch it in order.
No. Yes.
Yes. I don't know what the opposite of that is. Like there's a word for it, but I don't know what it is.
Yes. I don't
I
know.
keep I keep trying to say syndication, but that's a totally different thing.
Whole new thing.
Whole new thing. So we're not there.
Yes. It'll come to me and I'll just yell it at you later.
Yeah. But so in this lovely show, the first episode, Children of the Gods, is the two-part reintroduction of all the bullshit that we watched in the movie. Which, to be fair,
sucked.
yes. The critic reviews that said that the TV show was bad because James Spader was better than Michael Shanks, I immediately discredited them.
How dare they? First,
Correct. I get it, James. One of what they said was that this was in the movie was probably James Spader's best role, which I think is fair. I think he did phenomenal, and I think
it's his best role, though.
I think it's pretty high up there, truthfully.
I mean, he's doing Blacklist.
Okay, this review may have been. I
right
think
after
this review
the
no. The review was in 2018, so I think Blacklist had maybe just started.
No, Blacklist was out because it was out while I was in college.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't
know.
know.
These people are just dumb because he's definitely done better stuff.
Okay, if Blacklist
Not that he did bad.
I was gonna say if Blacklist is the only thing you can think of that is better.
No, there's something else I saw him in that I liked him in, but it's just not coming to me.
Oh, okay. Then we move on to episode 2, which is The Enemy Within, which is the episode in which Kowalski is taken over by the gold. Those two episodes do kind of actually have to go together.
Right.
And luckily, they did.
Lucky for us.
Lucky for us, they didn't quite screw that one up.
Yeah.
Then the next episode was Emancipation, which was the episode where Sam got to be like a feminist on a horse in a weird like Mongol culture thing.
Matters.
That episode, not only did it not move, it literally didn't matter. If that would have been gone, zero would have changed about the season.
Exactly.
No.
And I didn't hate that like the rest of the world did. I mean, it wasn't my favorite episode. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
And I didn't hate it the rest of the world did, but also like it is unnecessary.
Because it was absolutely the lowest rated episode of the season.
Yeah.
Tied, of course, with the other one that didn't matter, which you did like.
I did like. Fine.
Episode 4 was the Braca Divide, which was the light and dark planet where the thing happened and they got all weird
The land of the light.
caveman, the land of the light and the caveman thing happening.
Yeah.
And that
I didn't care for the caveman portion, but I really like the land of the light and those people.
those characters, and then they come back later, which is nice. Episode 5 was the First Commandment, which was the one where
The marriage cake, was that the marriage cake?
no, this was the one where Corey Matthews' dad was
yeah,
the abusive ex-fiance.
Mm-hmm.
That one was also, a lot of these were just like in the beginning, they were one-offs. They didn't, I get why your
My
aunts felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get to episode 6, and this is the first time where we have some weirdness in the order.
Got it.
Because episode 6 was Cold Lazarus, which was the episode where Jack saw Charlie as an alien thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
this is the one. Was this the crystals too?
Where the crystals took, oh no, yes, because the crystal like became Charlie.
Okay, so this was one of my questions that I had. I polled the audience of my aunts, and we wanted to know if there was anything mythology based in the crystals, because a lot of the other episodes, even if not overtly, I mean, it's not all Apophis and Thor, but like a lot of it's still wrapped up in mythology.
No.
Okay, so this just
Yeah.
My aunt also, this was the episode I think that was her favorite, because she asked about this and she said she cried a lot whenever New Jack, Crystal Jack was explained what happened with the sun and everything. So
that's totally that makes sense.
it was a really nice episode, other than the fact that
I do think so. What happened was this was episode 6, but it actually got moved later on the DVDs. And I think the reason that happened is I think when they made the DVDs, they kind of wanted to get some of the one-offs out of the way early and then do a better build-up later in the season. So what was placed as number 6 in the DVD order was Brief Candle, which is the marriage cake old age one.
I thought that episode was hilarious, and I think it's because it reminded me so much of Midsummer, which
fair.
But
I really do also like that episode a lot. But in the original order, it was the 8th episode. So there was
in the DVD, it's the
6th. In the DVD, they moved it up, so it was closer to all the other one-off.
So
random.
Netflix is going original order.
Yes, Netflix is original order. DVD is a release. Like they've changed it for the DVDs to make a more cohesive story when they first did the box set. And I actually think the DVD order makes more sense.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Doug has never watched it in the order we watched it in, only in the DVD order. So he didn't realize how weirdly different it was.
Yeah.
But so what they did was they moved Brief Candle up more to go with all those weird one-off, no real plot. Because not that they don't have plots, the episodes themselves are great, but those 4 episodes, so Brief Candle, First Commandment, Braca Divide, and Emancipation, all don't have any actual effect on the overall plot of the story.
I will say Brief Candle is like the first one that I just fell in love with. Like I liked the others, but it was the one that I was like, this is so good. I see a lot of sci-fi here. I see a lot of like questions. I want to know what's happening. It's
which is totally fair. I just think that, and it sets up the premise of the overall show great, but it doesn't add to the story that season 1 is attempting to tell. Not that I think season 1 succeeded necessarily in telling the story that it attempted to tell. But
Right.
I do think that moving this up to the beginning
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more, it's only 2 episodes different, but it
Yeah.
does kind of place it better.
No, I absolutely think so, because I feel like by the time you said it got moved to the Lazarus effect or whatever got moved to 8.
No, well, no, Lazarus just got moved back. So Lazarus got moved to 7, so it comes right after Brief Candle.
Gotcha. And so I feel like after that was kind of when the rest of the episodes we kind of started feeling like we knew the characters more and understanding more.
Right.
So
But
it
I
was
think
better to put, I guess, a more emotional episode when we're starting to really care more. So I think
right. I
sense.
think after watching the way Jack deals with the end of Brief Candle and the like dying but not dying thing, having Lazarus come directly after that hits you in the feels about Charlie even more, I think.
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
I think so.
So then the order gets real interesting.
Okay, I'm ready.
Because episode 7 in the original broadcast / Netflix order is the Knox.
Okay.
We will come back to that much later.
Much later?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah, no, the Knox doesn't even get put in until the 12th episode.
Because they're important and they don't want you to forget about them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. They realized that they messed that up. So then
like,
8 was brief.
Work.
So then 8 in the broadcast order was Brief Candle, which we already moved. So then we go to the 9th episode, which is the 8th episode on the DVD, and that is Thor's Hammer.
Got
it. So you have this big, in Cold Lazarus, you have this big emotional thing for Jack, and then you immediately go into Thor's Hammer, which is big emotional for Teal'c and Daniel.
Yes.
So like,
yes, that tracks.
Also Thor is important, but not
yet. Right.
Whereas the Knox we know are important, but then they don't.
They recur recurring already.
They recur already, yes. So it makes more sense to have them later. Yeah. Whereas the only episode that Thor is mentioned again in this season is the Torment of Tantalus, which does still immediately follow Thor's Hammer.
Got it. Which one was that?
That is Catherine and Ernest.
Yes. That's a sweet one.
I love that one.
I do too.
But it's the room with all the writing and all the alien languages and everything. And
we learned that there's multiple alien races, right? In
yes.
This one? Like Maine War or something?
Yes. But it makes sense that the Knox happens after this.
Right.
Because they recognize Thor's language. They recognize the Goa'uld language. They don't recognize any language from the Knox.
Right. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, they didn't necessarily see any writing from the Knox, so that could be explained away. But if the Knox,
they should have been mentioned.
But yeah, if the Knox is one of those 5 aliens in that room, and we've already met them, that should be addressed, and it isn't. Right. So that's another reason why they move the Knox later.
Which makes perfect sense.
Then we get, which honestly, I think a lot of the mix-up in the weirdness of the order was because they pulled the Knox out and flopped it in later, so everything got moved up an episode.
Yeah, that makes sense, though.
Because then episode 10 is Bloodlines, which was episode 11, which was when we go back to Chulak to see Teal'c's son.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes sense that right after they saved Ernest and Catherine, he's all in his feels about family. So
right, we have all of our episodes together.
Despite the fact that there doesn't feel like a through line, there is a through line. You just have to talk it out and figure out the emotional thoughts of the characters that are happening between what we see.
Which I think is totally fine for a sci-fi, because I think that's part of the fun of watching a sci-fi is you're meant to try and figure things out. And if you look at it big picture, I mean, we get the emotion from each character going through. And so it makes sense that way to be done.
And then episode 11 is Fire and Water, which is the episode where Daniel gets kidnapped and we find out that the other aliens were on Earth at some point.
I actually really liked that episode too.
I did too. But that is in the
fun.
correct order after Bloodlines. Then we throw the Nox in here.
Perfect. I like it there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that also means, because the Nox, fun fact, the Nox episode is great in terms of the Nox, but also who shows up in the Nox episode that we haven't seen for the first 10 episodes of the season? Apophis.
Apophis.
And so now we're on the second half of the season.
Which makes sense. It's what I complained about the whole time.
Correct. So now we're in the second half of the season, and having Apophis show up makes more sense.
Yes.
So then episode 13 is episode 13 for real, and that is Hathor, where we find the tomb on the planet. And
she's
we know
a setup, right? She's
a set.
Yeah.
Yes. There's only one thing that I think. No, this would make sense. Yes. Oh, yeah. No, because we also had to have found out the stuff from going back to Chulak with Teal'c to be able to fight Hathor with and the wormy things.
Right. And then the Nox comes out in that episode too.
No.
Right? Is that not the end of that episode when the Nox comes in?
No, that's in the Korai. No, I lied. That's not in Hathor. That's in what is the one where? No, Hathor is the one where the lady Goa'uld flirts with Daniel.
Right.
Yes. No, the Nox show up when Omak and his alien friends are there, and the one guy's flirting with Sam.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years from now. I am not going to know anything that happens.
No, but so the Hathor is a Goa'uld centric episode, which despite the Nox being a big deal, the focus of the Nox episode was actually on Apophis coming back. So then having that go right into Hathor being on Earth, we've got all that Goa'uld stuff.
Right.
Episode 14 is, let me make sure it's the same. Episode 14 is not the same. Okay. Yes. No. Episode 14 in the DVD order makes much more sense than it does, because episode 14 in the DVD order is Korai, which is the episode where Teal'c had to go on trial and prove that he was still a good person. So we have those that the abandoning his friend on the Nox planet and like turning his back, Hathor, Korai, all in a row. Oh, and actually no, yeah, all in a row. So that is a big mid-season, throw us back into the Goa'uld, end on a banger kind of thing.
Follow where we're meant to go this season.
Right. Well, because Hathor. Oh, yeah. Because episode 14 would have been the mid-season break. So that would have been put Korai as, even though once it's on DVD, it's not a mid-season break, but that would have put Korai as the end, the cliffhanger. Whereas what actually was the cliffhanger, we both think was stupid to be a cliffhanger. Not that the episode itself was entirely dumb. It wasn't my favorite, but it should not have been a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So that puts Korai back as the mid-season break.
Mm-hmm.
Then episode 15, which is when we come back, is Singularity, which is the little girl who is a bomb but isn't a bomb. No. I love that one too, but I think that's more of a welcome back to the show. Let's have some feelings and remind you who the characters are, rather than an end of the year thing.
I'm just remembering that these episodes exist, as you noticed,
right?
As you mentioned. I'm telling you, I've forgotten everything I've ever known about Stargate.
That's totally fine. It's a long season.
It's a long season, and I have a short memory. So, but I do love this one. I thought it was so sweet.
Then episode 16 is Enigma, which is the same. And that is the one where the Nox come back and save the aliens that are on the planet, with flirting with Sam.
Yes.
Then episode 17 is Tin Man, which is the AI alien one, where they like get it
With the crazy guy.
with the crazy guy, which in
Little wild
which is
episode.
not what happens on the show.
Oh, where did that episode come in the?
And the show that comes 18th. So
Okay.
they switched Tin Man and Solitudes, which makes sense because remember we talked about how Tin Man and But There for the Grace of God being next to each other was too much cloning at once.
Yes. Yes.
So Tin Man just gets moved up one, so it's still toward the end of the season, but then you have the break of Solitude before the cloning.
Right.
Which again also means that Solitudes, the episode where they discover the other gate on the planet, doesn't then have a bullshit not necessary episode right after it, because
or have a weird almost cliffhanger to go into something that's not related
unrelated, because then we go from that into There But For the Grace of God, where Daniel goes to the alternate reality, and then we have Politics, which is the recap episode, which throws us right into the 3-part.
That is absolutely, that's a great episode, because if you find the new Stargate, you have that small, it's not, I guess, a real cliffhanger, but it's a small cliffhanger because you know things are about to happen, and then you go straight
the big 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yes. So the DVD order is actually the correct order. And if I had realized how different it was before we watched this, I probably would have made us skip around on Netflix and watch it in the order that it is on the DVD, because it makes so much more sense. Just the flow of it. I still think there are unnecessary episodes. Like I still think there are some episodes that are very much just time fillers and character kitschy, welcome to the sci-fi kind of thing. But I think that the flow in the DVD order is more sensical.
I do agree that it's more sensical, but I think part of the I feel like part of the approach of this podcast is to critique the originality of it.
That's fair.
So I'm fine with us watching it in the order we watched it, even though it makes way more sense the DVD order. Right. And if I were to rewatch it, I would rewatch it in the DVD order. But yeah, I like to be able to critique where the writers were at when it happened, and not when it was fixed, you know?
True.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So but I also think that makes some of the jumpiness, when you have that jumpiness and it's already such a long season, it does make it a little bit forgettable at some points.
It does, for sure.
And I feel like some of those episodes would have felt less forgettable if they had been in the right order.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is good, which is why we have a recap, so you don't forget, because obviously I do. So.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, the 3-parter that is the season finale into season, because it's Politics is episode 1 of the 3-parter, Within the Serpent's Grasp is episode 2, and then the season 2 premiere, which is called The Serpent's Lair, is the 3rd part of a 3-part story.
But we haven't seen that. That's
no.
The premiere, you said?
The season 2 premiere is part 3. Yeah. It's part 3 of a 3-parter. To be fair, I think that as long as we remember those 2 episodes, it's really okay if we forgot a lot.
Unless is it Norway? Where is it?
Sweden.
Unless you're Sweden, then
unless you're Sweden, and then you're screwed.
Good luck. Godspeed. Ugh. I'll never get over that.
I don't think Sweden ever got over it.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't if I were them.
Right. So, what kind of notes do you have?
Well,
Cloud.
I have,
because you have so many notes.
I have so many. I got so excited. I know I've been. I mean, I'm the horror side. I get it, but I geeked out about this recap episode real hard. I have 10 fun facts for you.
Oh dear Lord. Okay.
Don't worry, they're fast facts. So okay. We're not going to do it for ages.
I just also want to know how many of them I already knew.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
First and foremost, Roland Emmerich, who was the movie director,
Yeah.
hates the series. He's mad because it went in a different direction than he anticipated the movie to go.
But the movie sucked.
But the movie sucked and it's not his. He didn't write it. He was the director.
Yeah, and to be
So,
fair, if I had to pick what I hated about the movie, the writing wouldn't be it. It would be the directing.
right?
Because
So sorry, Roland.
as whatever you want to say about James Spader and Kurt Russell, who I think had there not been a series, I would have appreciated their performance. But Michael Shanks and Richard Dean Anderson
Oh my God.
are those characters
Above and beyond, for
above
sure.
and beyond. And
Yeah.
so I also think that the humanity of those characters doesn't exist in the movie. But I think looking at the dialogue on its own, it could. And so I think that that's down to the direction. I think that
I think so because the story doesn't suck, but it's
I think that
hard to keep up with.
Jack's aggression, the
Mhm.
the personableness, the like pain behind the aggression, Kurt Russell doesn't show. And I've seen Kurt
Yeah.
Russell show that. So I know it's not that he's a bad actor. I've seen him show that kind of thing. So I blame the
read
direction.
about this. And this was a Richard Dean Anderson choice. The way the character moved, and this is another fun fact I have, he wanted to separate this character from Kurt Russell's because he didn't like how stoic Kurt Russell's character was. He wanted more personality. He wanted comedy in it. And he, made a play for a lot of that. And so in the movie, O'Neill's name is spelled Oneil.
Yeah.
And in the show, Richard Dean Anderson asked to add an L.
So that it's not the same character, even though it is the same character.
Right.
Yeah, that part I did know.
Yes, so that's one of my fun facts. This is what I spent hours on, was looking up fun facts. So
I love that.
Keep up. It's gonna be fun. So in 2004, Richard Dean Anderson actually received a special award as an honorary brigadier from the U.S. Air Force, because they liked Stargate so much and they thought he did an excellent job of portraying them. So
I love that.
It's fun. Stargate was, because this is, God bless, before the 2000s, Stargate was the first film to have an official website. And could you imagine where we are now? I wish I could have seen it then, because they compared it to, switching over to horror, the Blair Witch Project, which also created a website very close to this time and made it seem like the found footage was real life.
Yeah.
I'll tell you till after the movie release that it wasn't. So they did compare it to that. And so this one came before that, but had its own website. In Mexico, when they translated the film, the movie was actually translated to The Gate of Time.
Yes.
Which confused everyone. I think you may have mentioned this.
Yes, I did mention this one when we did the movie recap, because I talked about how everyone in Mexico thought it was a time travel movie, not a planet travel movie, and they were hella confused.
Yes, I thought you had mentioned that, but I was like, I'm not mentioning it again just in case. There is a video game called SG-1 Unleashed that I now want every part of my being to play. And it's fun because the original actors are the voice actors for the video game. So all of them came back to do this game, which is very fun. Have you played it? Do you know anything about it?
I've not. I don't know anything about it.
I'm going to look more into it. Okay, so now I am going to tell you fun facts about our top 4 people.
I love it.
Richard Dean Anderson, prior to being an actor, was not anticipating being an actor. He was a well handler.
Okay.
He was he worked in the musical department for Medieval Times Dinner. And last but not least, and just like David Bowie, he was a mime.
Love that.
Why not?
I do think I mentioned the Medieval Times one.
I think you did too. Again, this was like 20 weeks ago, so I'm like
correct.
Pulling things out of things I think I remember.
Speaking of things that weren't 20 weeks ago, though, just as an FYI for our listeners who would like to know when I screw up the dates on things, it was on a Wednesday, so we didn't actually have a podcast that came out that week.
Mhm.
But 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, July 27th, is the official 25th anniversary of the premiere of the TV show.
I saw people sharing about that, but I
Mhm.
didn't comprehend.
Yes, it is 25 years of Stargate. But because it's 25 years of Stargate, they're working on like 25th anniversary stuff, but like it keeps like not quite giving me any information. And I'm like,
Well, it's okay. I have 3 more fun facts for you
please share
about our
them.
main cast.
Okay.
Christopher Judge, this is something I didn't know, and I definitely knew him from here and didn't realize it, was Brick Crashmaster on the Wacky Races. I had no
No.
idea, but I loved that show.
Okay.
Did you ever
I've never
watch
heard
it?
of that. No, I
Oh
don't
my
even know
God, it
what
was
that show
on
is.
Boomerang. It was all of the Boomerang characters were in races together. And it was, oh God, it was so fun. I watched it 4 a.m. When I was a
Fantastic.
child. Amanda Tapping's favorite play in the world, because she's done theater and stuff, is The Lion in Winter. And she's
Ooh.
still on her way. She says her dream role is to play that when she's in her 60s. So I
I
guess
love that.
we're close. I think is she early 50s right now?
I believe so. Yeah.
So she's close, but that's her dream role to play. And not only is there a Michael Shanks who is an architect, which I think you've mentioned, so I wanted to kind of gloss over that. He is a huge fan of hockey, and he was on the SG1 hockey team because they had their own hockey team.
Of course they did.
So, because they're Canadian, why would they not?
Right.
So those are my fun facts for season 1. And I believe I have addressed everything I anticipated on addressing.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that they had a hockey team, and I'm just trying to picture, was it the crew? Was it only cast? How did that work?
I don't think it was only cast because none of the other cast members were mentioned. So I think it must have been crew as well. I think it was just across the board SG1 because I literally had to read this 4 times. It was on multiple sites because I couldn't find anything fun about Michael Shanks, even though God bless him, he's adorable and has other stuff going on.
That he
but
does.
I couldn't find fun facts. And it was there's an architect named Michael Shanks and he was on the SG1 hockey team. I was like, that's it. That's all we get. That's what they said on every website I looked at. So fun times.
I love that. I'm looking just to see if I have anything that I haven't talked about before.
Oh, I also want to mention, while we're on our Sci-Fi Sunday, I have saved some really fun memes from season 1 that I'll be sharing throughout the week when this episode airs.
I love that.
I've now created a Stargate memes folder on my phone.
I'm trying to think. I saw something really funny the other day on the Stargate
Reddit,
but I didn't read it because it was before we finished.
See, I'm so scared to get on Stargate Reddit.
Don't.
Because I don't want to learn anything I don't want to know. That's why I very specifically looked up facts that were Stargate SG1 season 1. I made sure I put that on everything I searched.
No, I would definitely say don't go on it because there is definitely spoilers. I'm trying to remember though. Somebody posted something about season 1 not being great. And I found somebody, and then there was a list of what episodes you should watch to actually.
I think I did see that. I think I saw that recently.
And I can't find where it was.
Can you? Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted.
I did. I searched season 1, but it's not necessarily giving me everything only that I wanted. where was this?
Is it the one that says there's a notable episode list by season?
Maybe.
They said half or 1 and 2, I guess, Children of the Gods, Cold Lazarus, Thor's Hammer, The Torment of Tantalus. I think this is what you're looking for.
I think so.
I'm
That
going to
sounds correct.
screenshot it and send you a picture of it. And you can tell me if that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
I Googled my SEO words. Is that what they're called? Search engine optimization.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a fun time in our Thursday after I'm halfway through a bottle of wine.
Okay. No. This
Oh.
is good. This is good, but no, it was somebody being kind of a jerk and picked like said there was only like 5 episodes that were worth watching.
Gotcha. I don't know. This is riveting content though.
I know, I'm sorry guys. We're fantastic. But what was I? Oh, I was one of the things that I had planned is like when we did our season recaps for Hemlock, we talked about like reviews, not like spoilery reviews, but like critic scores and stuff for the upcoming season. But I've looked up just to like kind of like throw out like what are we getting ourselves into? Mm-hmm. But season 2 does not have a Rotten Tomatoes score or a Metacritic score
at all.
At all.
All right, that's promising. That's gonna be fun.
I think the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes was 94%, but there is no critic score and no critic score and no Metacritic score at all.
This audience though is so dedicated.
So dedicated.
Like I feel like you could just throw out a random Stargate episode now and they'd be like 100% we're in. And it would be terrible.
No, like, are you kidding? People are so because
wild.
It's because it's the 25th anniversary. People cannot stop trying to figure out if they're gonna bring it back for season 11.
They're not.
They're not.
I mean, I haven't seen season 2 through 10, but like based on where we're at in the world and based on where the like cast is, it's not gonna happen.
I will just say that the lowest rated episode of season 2 is 6.8. So that's better. The lowest terrible. In season 1 was 6. Yeah. But we do have an episode in season 2 that breaks 9 stars.
Ooh, I'm so excited. I am. So there is where we're going because I think we'll see. I mean, Apophis. Obviously. It's not dead yet, so we'll see him. I think, I think we'll see Sharae in like season 10 or something. Who knows? We'll never see her again. She's gone, lost to the world. I'm sure she'll be in season 2. But
fun fact about this show was that it was at running for 10 seasons. It was the longest running live action science fiction television, American science fiction television show. And some people still consider it the second longest running show and saying that only Doctor Who ran more than it because there are some things that are like weirdly genre because technically Supernatural is sometimes listed as a sci-fi, not a horror. I would list Supernatural as horror, but some people list it as sci-fi. But the interesting thing about Supernatural beating it for the longest American running sci-fi show is that Michael Shanks, Amanda Tapping, and Terrell Rothery are all on Supernatural.
My thing about that though is like I understand the spinoffs are different shows, but they do contain a lot of the same characters. So I would count the spinoffs when counting how long it is, which would make it longer than Supernatural because Supernatural's what? Season 14, 15 was the last season?
15, I think. But
I mean, there's like 5 spinoffs of Stargate. The first one had 10 seasons.
10 seasons. Atlantis had 5, so that's already 15, not including any of the movies.
Right.
Or Universe.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say it's second. Everything I was reading, like from real people, it was like the second longest across the board under Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Which if you stay tuned for Thriller Thursday, I have some Doctor Who content for you.
So many things I would like to say. But what was it? I had some other thing that I was going to share about this show. I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of like the kinds of trivia stuff that we normally like talk about is much harder because the show is so old.
Yeah.
Like not that like I mean most of the actors are still alive.
Yeah.
But like they're not super active on social media. They're not like it's
I did
not
accidentally learn how every character left the show in my perusals.
how did you manage to do that? How
I
did
didn't.
you
So I learned
no
how
actor or
Donis
character?
Hammond left the show.
Actor or character? Because they're not always okay. Because I was
All
saying
the
they're not
actors, some of the characters.
okay.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
I didn't mean I was trying to get good content for our recap episode. I'm so sorry that I just wanted our listeners to have a good time.
But here's the thing. You've spoiled yourself for Bates. You've now spoiled things for Stargate.
I think I've only spoiled through season 3 of Bates. I don't know when it's coming. I actually thought it was going to be the season 2 finale, and it wasn't. So I'm still like kind of on
I don't know if you should be allowed on the internet anymore.
Like, I mean, regardless of everything that's happening with this podcast, I feel like that's questionable. Maybe I shouldn't be on the internet. But yeah, so I know why and when Donis Hammond leaves the cast. I know thing for
Don. You're mixing his names together though. His name is Don Davis.
Davis.
Yes, and Hammond is the actor or is the character.
I know when Michael Shanks left SG1. I know when Richard Dean Anderson left SG1. And I vaguely know what's going on with Christopher Judge and Amanda Tapping.
But
they were much longer in the show, so
yes.
Which I know we've talked about before, so like that's not really a spoiler.
We have talked about that on the show, which probably I shouldn't have, but like it is.
But look, when we get to season like 10, no one's gonna know what we talked about for season 1.
Nobody's gonna
I'm not gonna know what we talked about for season 1.
Oh, this is always fun. Sorry, I just found something that I love reading Common Sense Media's reviews of whether shows are appropriate for families or not.
Me too, yes.
Common Sense says that Stargate is age 10 plus. Sci-fi drama has lots of potential. Tweens, okay. Kids think that it is only for 11 plus, and parents think that it is for 12 plus.
Oh, watch out. 11.
There are no positive messages present.
I beg to differ. Did you not hear my spiritual affirmation for today? There are a lot of positive messages.
But it says, the Stargate project is run by the military and the crew tends to follow orders, but disobedience is not unheard of. For example, when a gutsy character decides to follow a hunch, such choices make for dramatic cliffhangers, and because they are almost invariably turn out to be correct, are usually praised by superiors. The evil aliens are rather one-dimensional in their desire to rule the galaxy and are easy to root against.
What do you want from aliens? Like, what do you expect from them? That is the whole premise of Aliens. I read a review that was like, unfortunately, this show is like pretty pro-military, even though they stand against a lot of good stuff. It's like, what did you think you were watching? Right. Like, they're a branch of the military.
3 out of 5 bombs for violence and scariness.
Wait. I need to know what review page this is on.
commonsensemedia.org.
This is on Common Sense Media? Okay. Because I am going to spiral. I'm so sorry. There's a podcast called Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet that Christine from And That's Why We Drink does with her brother Zandy.
Yes.
And they found this review page. So they just read like 1-star reviews, which is really fun. And they found a page that only does reviews in bombs. And so that's what I think of every time I hear that it's like a certain amount of bombs.
Rather mild combat scenes against aliens. Few fights involve much visible bloodshed. The Goa'ulds takeover process can be a bit scary to watch.
Okay, look. I think even at 11, I would not have been scared. And I was a baby at 11. It wasn't that much blood. I still don't like blood.
sex, romance, and nudity. There's only 1 of 5. It's got a 1 of 5. And it says, no explicit sexual scenes or nudity, though some alien cultures have relatively racy outfits. And then it says, note, 2 different versions of the pilot are available. One includes full frontal nudity.
Oh yeah, but also Hathor.
She's not naked.
No,
She's
but I
just-
mean like she wants to have their what does she call it? The life something. You know what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah.
about.
Yes, I do. Oh,
Yeah.
what did we? Oh man, what was that?
I
There
know,
was
we had a whole thing about it.
a whole thing about it. Hold on, I'm gonna find it in my notes because it was the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
That was so funny.
That will be the takeaway for the season is what Hathor called human sex.
Yeah,
Because it was so strange.
I know. That was the most like sexual episode, if you can even call it that.
Oh, okay, I'm on my notes.
Also, your notes are way better organized than mine.
Hathor tells Daniel she needs the code of life.
That's what it is, the code of life. Ugh.
That is the most disgusting way I've ever heard semen described in my entire life.
So this makes me, maybe I've had too much wine, who knows? This makes me want to get on like these dating apps that I despise just to use that phrase against people and be like, I need the code of life. And they would be like, could you imagine?
So sometimes people bet me money to say things and I listen.
Right. Yes.
Like, I hope he never listens to this.
I hope in every part of me that he does.
So my boyfriend was making a wooden table out of a tree, like straight up piece of a tree, debarked it, like sanded it, everything. Beautiful. And he sent me pictures when he first started doing this. And I went on a full scale sexual frustration spiral about how I just couldn't imagine. I literally like told him he was a lumberjack. Like it was a problem. And
I will say though, have you seen those lumberjacks at Disney? I know you have. In Canada,
including I think my text used the word fuck at least 19 times. And I compared him to Noah Calhoun building me a house. Like that's where I was at mentally. Of course, the text was not to him. It was not to him. It was to Courtney. No, it wasn't to Courtney because I told you about it in real life, but it was to Rachel. And Rachel was like, did you tell him that? I was like, absolutely not. My Rachel, not your Rachel.
Right. We have multiple Rachels.
We both have a Rachel. Yeah. And Rachel goes, I will bet you, she was like, I will pay you $10 to tell him you want to give him a massage. So I did in like a very sexual way.
Keep in mind, they haven't been dating for like months.
They've been dating for like a month.
Yeah. Wild. Mary Kate, though, she can't turn down a dare. Bless her heart.
And then I got a Venmo for $10.
Oh, yeah.
So,
from Rachel, not from her boyfriend. Let me make that clear.
Oh, God, no. Could you imagine?
Look, connotations. If you don't clarify.
So, honestly, for the right dollar amount, I would say something to him about the code of life. Was the point for the point of that story. The point of you guys knowing that story was that for the right dollar amount, I would.
I will figure out what that dollar amount is because I would love to share that on her Instagram. How that conversation goes. So you just stay tuned. We'll see what happens.
Thank God Doug is not here.
Oh God, I wish Doug was here. How fun would that be? One day.
No.
Does he listen? Doug, do you listen?
I don't know. I don't know if he listens. He should. We talk about it all the time. I'm pretty sure he's subscribed. I just don't think he listens.
Doug, come on, dude.
I think it's because he hasn't gone past Hemlock Grove yet.
Look, tell him no
Skip
No
ahead.
shade on you or Monica, because I love you both. But every time I tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the season I started. So like, we want to listen to you talk, and I'm like, here's when I started.
Which
And
is
like, but I also am
fine.
like, I like joined in on season finales and stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
like, if you watch the show, go back and listen.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to catch up, just start with the most recent season. Like,
Right. But I did in fact tell him, I go, no, no, no. We were talking about it and I said that it was the worst show I've ever watched, but like I loved it, but it was also terrible. And like I don't regret doing it because like I loved meeting, like talking to Jill De La Fuente and like everything. And
oh
it was
yeah,
like so good, but
guys,
it
such
was terrible. And he goes, so I should take it out of my Netflix queue? I said, absolutely not, because you have to watch it to then listen to me talk shit about it. Like that's how that
right.
works.
Right. And I was on the season wrap up. So if y'all like me, y'all should listen to those seasons and listen to the wrap ups.
Correct.
There's no reason to skip them.
Um,
So
oh,
I've had many of my friends, they start and they're like, that doesn't sound like you and Hemlock Grove. And I was like, because it's not. Like, do you read anything it says who's in the episode? Like,
yeah. So, these 1-star reviews from parents. Be
mhm,
warned, the Netflix offering is rated mature. It does not have nudity edited out. Full frontal female nudity from the beginning.
bless. How dare.
Husband likes it. Based on reviews, thought it would be okay to watch with 8-year-old. Skipped the pilot due to the nudity in the reviews, but the next episode of season 1, watching right now, frequent use of damn and hell.
I want you to
Plus,
know before you continue, you started out with frequent use of there's full female nudity, and then the next sentence was husband likes it. And I was like, okay, yeah, 1+1 = 2. What is
right. Plus, crap, oh God, God forsaken, oh my God. Violent, shows the one guy strangle the other guy and then shows the dead man with blood coming out of his mouth. He throws the female captain against a wall and knocks her out. My kid isn't easily scared, but this is still more violent than I care for her to watch. Honestly, I would say this would be okay for teens at least 13 up.
Can you imagine if they were rating our show instead? I'm gonna draft a parent rating for our show.
This one says ages 6 plus. Great show, appropriate for all ages.
Those are very different. Those are very different things.
Hold on.
I do believe it's probably more appropriate for all ages than the first person felt like, but gosh.
That one is the one that has the lowest age rating, but now I want to read the one that has the highest age rating. Show is age 18 plus.
X-rated.
Watch out. Great series, but not really for kids. Has a lot of mild language throughout. Some implied sexual situations like Carter seen sleeping with a guy,
Oh my
etc.
God.
And that one is about a character that we don't know yet.
Okay.
The first pilot episode is rated R for total nudity. Watch out. Watch the alternate version of the pilot, which removes the nudity. But then, because Common Sense Media is a nonprofit organization that helps like religious families find good TV for their kids, I also want to read you the what to talk to your kids about after watching this show.
Okay.
Families can talk about whether they think there's life on other planets. In the Stargate universe, the galaxy is connected by a network of gates, and many planets have various types of intelligent life. Some are quite similar to humans, and some are quite different. Some are friendly, some are indifferent, and a few are clearly hostile. All of which might prompt parents and kids to wonder about humanity's role in the universe. Do you think we're alone out here? Do you think that an encounter with a hostile alien culture would convince us to put aside global bickering?
I want to say they really missed out on an opportunity to discuss how marriage cake works. That feels like right up their alley.
Oh, right. I wonder if I can. This is just for the show as a whole. I don't think I can separate it
By episode.
by episode.
Can you just include, be like, by the way, kids, watch out for marriage cake. Because
her marriage cake. Oh wait, but let's see what the kids' reviews are.
reviews from kids or for kids?
From kids.
Okay, great. I'm in.
So I'm trying to find unnamed kid, 10 years old. That's 1 star, age 18 plus. Halfway through the pilot was 100% naked.
Oh, how dare they? Was that the whole review?
That was the whole review.
Okay. Very strong feelings from a 10-year-old.
Very strong feelings from a 10-year-old. No child thinks that it is only 6+. Wow. But one child did say 8+. Let's see what that child has to say.
Ooh, they're saucy.
Luna, who is a kid, 12 years old, says 5+ stars. This title has there's no words here, just age 8+, no words. This title has great messages, great role models, but too much sex and too much violence.
I'm not sure where the sex happened. Also, I'm not sure what children know about sex. So I feel like these are overheard conversations from parents.
Yeah. This one says teen, 13 years old, rated age 8+. I love it. It's way better than Star Wars, although Star Trek is good too. Teamwork makes the dream work in this amazing classic show. Some episodes can be a little bit scary at times.
That sounds like a review I wrote at 12. Like, had I watched this at 12, that's exactly what I
Yeah.
I constantly say teamwork makes the dream work. And I think things are scary when they're not. So
there's no way a child wrote this review. I'm sorry.
I believe that.
Okay, this review. It is from someone, and their description, they don't have an age, just child. Rated age 8+. If you're a fan of sci-fi, enjoy. This show is very good. This show, like Firefly, takes the Star Trek concept but twists it. What do I mean by this? Firefly took away aliens, when this show took away spaceships. Note, if you want to show the show to anybody, show that person or yourself. Watch 1994's Stargate first. Other note, for the show's pilot, skip a scene about 1 hour in, for it has nudity, if you believe your child may not handle full frontal nudity, done in a way that's not sexual. And even more showing of said character's breasts. But if your child accidentally saw his or her mom naked, don't worry. I handled it, so me being a mature 11-year-old, you shouldn't worry too much.
You're not an 11-year-old.
Furthermore, hold on. Oh, it continues.
Okay.
Furthermore, on second note, if you're lucky, if you have a child that you don't want to see nudity, you might find a PG version of the pilot that you might consider a better introduction to the series than a pilot that originally aired on Showtime that's rated R. So that's all. Yet another note. SG-wise, watch the movie Stargate 1994, then this show. Then on season 7, watch this and Stargate Atlantis back to back. Then after Atlantis' 3rd season, watch Stargate The Ark of Truth. After that, watch Stargate to Continuum. Then finish Atlantis. Then finish it off with Stargate Universe. And if you're sad of no more Stargate, look for Stargate Infinity. And if you're still sad after finishing that, play Stargate Resistance. And if you're still sad, read the books, comics, listen to audiobooks, etc. And if you're still sad, hope for the improbable sequels to Stargate 1984. You will love the show and become a gator.
And if you're still sad, get on Prozac. What are you doing? This is a lot of sadness.
You're still sad. Also, further note.
Wait, so are we... Oh, this brings a question to my mind. Sorry, my dog just started moving around. Are we watching Stargate Atlantis in the middle of Stargate?
I haven't decided, because technically the first season of Stargate Atlantis is kind of connected, but then it isn't anymore, really. Okay. It's totally a different show, except for that some characters go back and forth. So I don't know. But
I mean, you got 4 years to decide.
Yeah, so. We got so much time to figure it out. But I was thinking of watching the movies, but now I have to go back and figure out if the movies need you to watch both shows for them to make sense. Because then if they do, then we're going to be on Stargate for the next 17 years of my life.
I mean, look.
But I mean, why not?
It is what it is. Well, we have to do. I was going to say something else and I forgot what it was. So
this episode is apparently not as long as we thought it was, because once we figured out the order that the episodes are supposed to go in, the show makes sense.
Right. Everything makes sense now.
But I do hope that mature 11-year-old is on Prozac.
I hope a lot of things for them. Bless their heart. Me at 11, I mean, I'm anxiety ridden. I'm on Prozac. At 11, I was not that neurotic.
Oh, who let their 11-year-old type out that response?
Who pretended to be their 11-year-old and typed out that response? That's what I want.
I thought it wasn't a kid, but then I read it and it was definitely a kid, and it had so many spelling errors.
Because you're still sad.
So sad.
It's the best review. It's the best.
If you're sad and you have advice on how to be sad in this one short week where we're not watching Stargate, because don't worry, we'll be back. You can send us an email to tell us how you deal with your sadness at deathandaliens@gmail.com. No, I sound like an internet like therapist. Please let me know if you're sad. I wanna be there for you.
I feel like you're one of those 90s 800 therapists, though. Like,
Delilah.
exactly. I hate Delilah. Oh my God, I hate Delilah.
I love Delilah. But hold on, there's a very good reason. My papa, before he died, whenever he was in charge of the radio in the car, he would, without even realizing it, like he'd be like, oh, I like the song, and then he'd leave it on and it would end up being part of Delilah's show.
My mom
and then
does that.
every time he would put it on, my grandma would be like, oh, Stanley, it's your girlfriend again. And so then, like, whenever we were really sad after my papa died, we would just put on Delilah's show.
God.
So I do love Delilah.
Good for you. Good for Delilah.
His real girlfriend was Shania Twain, but that's a different story.
No, I get it. It's fine.
But again, if you would like to write to us and have us read your letters on the internet as if we were Delilah with sad songs and voices that make old people cringe, literally that would be the best episode. We should just have an episode where we read people's really sad love stories.
Would make me happier.
I'm gonna have my kids in their writing class write fake love letters and read them on the podcast.
Yes.
Like, you are only doing this for me and not for nothing other than for me.
Yes, I'm in. Like, that's all we need in this podcast world of ours.
Fantastic. You can also follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens, where we post things that are not quite Delilah.
I'm gonna be posting some really dope memes for.
I was gonna say mostly we post memes. That's what we post.
But we do what we can. We both work 1,000 hours a week, and
also it's hot.
It's hot. Yeah. Wait till October and November. I'll be thriving. I'll be posting every day.
Right. I won't, because I'll be running the fall play. But like after that,
I'll be running up into it. It's okay.
That's great.
Might not be working on it.
But you cannot follow me on all of the social medias at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And we will see you guys next week.
Nope.
Well, no, we'll see you on Thursday
for our movie Last Night in Soho, which is taking our season break for Bates Motel.
And next week on Sci-Fi Sunday, we will be back at it with season 2 of Stargate SG-1
for our trilogy ending.
Woo-hoo! Conclusion of the to be continued.
Good times.
All right. See you guys on Thursday.
See ya.
Bye.